Hi folks, how are you doing? In the 8th round of the Tashkent FIDE Grand Prix, we saw one wonderful game. We had Boris Gelfand here playing with white pieces and Bahadur Jobava playing as black. This was a very interesting game, the most beautiful from, I think, from the round. Okay, there was the Mamediyarov game, which was cool as well, and it was really like a generation battle. And I don't say with this that Gelfand is old or something, don't misunderstand me, but this would seem like a battle between old school and very creative and modern and pragmatic ideas in chess. And you're gonna see this very soon. Why am I talking like this later about this during the game? Let's see what happened. Gelfand starts with 1d4 as usually, and as usually Jobava does what he pleases to. He plays e6, and after c4 he goes with the b6. Not sure if this is the English defense or something, or the weight defense. Something not very common, but certainly not that bad, allowing white to have this strong pawn center and not playing bishop b7. I mean, I've been faced with this defense literally hundreds of times and playing on internet with people like me, amateurs, but really, as you can see, it's playable at all levels. And well, of course, if it's Jobava playing it well, you can say he can play anything he wants, so why not this b6 bishop b7 idea? Bishop d3 defending the pawn, and now bishop b4 check. Well, white can cover from the check in various ways. Bishop d2 is what Gelfand chose. Now bishop takes, knight takes, develops a piece, overprotects e2, and d6 is played by Jobava, controlling dark squares and, well, having a restricted position, lacking space. But after f4, well, certainly an interesting position. I mean, if we could ask people like Tarash, Alekhine or Capablanca about this position, they would probably laugh at us, saying black is just a beginner, an amateur, and might as well as resign. And this is what I meant about when I was talking in the beginning about battle of generations or something. You know, the Nimzo-Indian and all that kind of people started to say that control of the center with pawns wasn't necessarily the best thing in the world, as pawns create weaknesses while they advance, and you know, these over advanced pawns could be sometimes targets, weaknesses to be attacked with pieces. So we're gonna see this happening in this game, and Jobava is going to prove he's completely controlling these kinds of position. He knows how to control this position when he's going to lack space, but he's gonna find solid places for his pieces to develop, and later he's going to use the overextension of white position in his favor. Knight d7 was played, and queen g4. An aggressive move, not sure if very justified. I guess people playing this kind of structures with black are wishing just to raise your, you know, your heart work and make you feel angry and want to punish them and make you overcommit, go over aggressive. Of course, well, Gelfand, you can't accuse him of being not calm or something, but queen g4, not sure if that's the best move here. This is similar to what happens sometimes in the Wiener variations of the French defense, but there are some differences to it. Now queen takes on g7, and after rook g8, queen h6, well, the rook can immediately take the pawn back on g2, and certainly, I mean, it's a position still, but I'm not sure about this maneuver for white. Gelfand keeps developing, knight gf3, now queen to e7. Of course, black is willing somehow to castle long. You would imagine to double rooks on the g file and put pressure with his b7 bishop, with his knights. A solid position. This is starting to look pleasant for black. White plays queen h3, the queen must go back somehow, and now you attack it, the rook with the tempo, why not? Rook back to g7, Gelfand castles long, and here an interesting point. I mean, one would probably naturally play long castle at once, but it seems this is giving white just the time to reorganize with rook hg1, and even if rook dg8, doubling rooks, white is just in time to put the rook on g5 supported by the pawn and the knight, creating reaching the outpost on g5 just in time. h6 is not possible, queen is controlling there, so white would be just in time to even have slightly better position with thanks to his outpost on g5 on the only open file on the board. And Jobava could smell this. He is certainly an excellent player, and he first plays knight g4, creating a direct threat, concrete attack on f2 with a huge fork there. And well, white must do something concrete about this. He plays queen g3. I mean, not the most pleasant move in the world, I guess, because you're half pinning your queen, although it's the rook on g7 which is not protected so far, so it's not that clear who's pinning, who's pinned in this g file right now, but there is tension there for sure. That's for sure. And knight df6 was played here, over protecting the knight. Here Gelfand plays a move. It took me some time to try to understand it, and let me share my thoughts with you and think if I understood it correctly. Well, I guess his first idea is that the knight is not coming to e3 now, the queen is controlling, so Gelfand would be planning to play h3 so that the knight is kind of forced to go to h6, from where it could go barely to bg8. So, and when the black knight is on h6, black cannot push his own pawn to h6, kicking his knight, which would eventually mean that the g5 white knight could be there for some long time, being a strong piece. That's what I understood about this move. I guess some of these ideas would be what Gelfand thought about. Well, first let's take a look at the line, which was curious. I mean, why wouldn't h3 be valid here? I mean, the rook on g7 is pinned and unprotected, so you're attacking the pinned piece, the knight. Well, remember the last move by black, Jobava brought the knight from d7 to f6, and that's why h3 isn't possible here for some tactical reasons. The knight would go to h5, attacking the queen, forcing the queen to go for instance to e1, and now nice capture on f4 with the knight from h5, attacking not only the bishop but threatening a deadly fork on d3 if the bishop is captured with the knight. So the bishop would have to go, for instance, back, still protecting d3, and now just simply the knight on g4 retreats to f6, having won a pawn and coming out very, very glad from this tactical sequence. This was basically the reason why h3 wasn't very good here for white. Instead, Gelfand plays this knight g5 move, which some seconds before I tried to explain what I understood about this move, at least. But of course, Jobava doesn't give Gelfand time to play h3 and make all this plan I just explained. He plays h6 right away. The queen goes to h3, and now he castles. Now there is no more rook g1 and controlling g5 outpost, so now black completes development, is going to double rooks, and white pieces are going to start to look a little bit suspicious right now. Rook d1, knight h5, concrete attack against the queen, which goes to f3. I mean, the computer says this is the best move. It probably is very correct. I'm no one to judge it, but I would be certainly very terrified leaving my queen and my rook on this diagonal where the black bishop is, but that's another story. Queen h4. I mean, if anything, white seems a little bit overextended. You know, black is coordinating well on the king side, the bishop is there on b7, the g file with the rook, and white is like scattered around, has too many overextended pawns, and this is what I was talking earlier in the game. When you advance your pawns, you create weaknesses. Will you be able to control them? Well, this is all about in this game. Rook to e2 was played, and now these arrows are made to try to explain what possibly was the idea behind Jobava's next move. He could be thinking, he's an imaginative player, he could be thinking about some tricks white could have, about bishop going to a6 while this diagonal could be opened, and well, this bishop could be pinned so it couldn't take on f3, so it would be under some deadly attack. I hope I explained myself. So I guess that's why he goes a move like king b8. Now no more bishop a6 pins and attacking it with the queen at the same time. He's just not letting white any kind of tactical counter chance, kind of counterplay he would love to have on his own. Now the bishop goes to c2 and f5. Now it's very sure. He's very sure with his bishop on b7. It's safe. So it's time to try to open this deadly diagonal, unleashing the power of this monster bishop on b7. And of course it cannot be taken, the f5 pawn, because the bishop would take the queen on f3. Queen goes back to f1, still protecting h3, but you can already smell it. White has no harmony in his position, no coordination. He only is defending weaknesses, defending weak diagonals, weak pawns, weak squares, and you can't play for real with this kind of position. Knight f6, black is just making logical continuations, logical moves, improving his pieces, coordinating them even better, and we're gonna see Gelfand's position collapse very quickly here. Now knight to f3, attacking the queen. Well, the queen goes to h5. Now Gelfand takes on f5, the knight is there so that the rook cannot be taken, and he plays d5, trying to stop this bishop from being really a nightmare for him. But now rook e8, rook takes, the queen goes back to the e file, queen d3, rook e7. Just look at this. When you have this much harmony with your pieces, now black is completely controlling the e file, the file that really matters. He's not caring about like little pawns here. His knights are very well placed. He's controlling the open file. So this is really harmony. This is coordination. Rook f1 was played, and knight to e3, attacking both the rook and the bishop. Well, this is slowly but surely going towards a full point for black. Now bishop a6. Note the attack on c4 with both the bishop and the rook and the knight. Bishop b3, but first pawn already goes there. Knight from e takes d5. The pawn cannot take. The queen would be hanging. Queen takes f5 was played, but after bishop takes c4, wonderful tactical skills by Jobava. I mean, it wasn't that difficult to see this, but generally in overall this was a great game. Calculating really cool things, and here it was all she wrote. Boris Gelfand resigned the game. Well, let's try to see what would happen if bishop takes. There is the little, sorry, if bishop takes, rook e1 check could be played, and it doesn't make that much of a difference if white takes the rook or not. Now queen takes check, king is forced to c2, where the queen is lost through this fork, and basically the same happens if after the check king goes to c2, well, directly knight e3 check, with white losing the queen. So nice victory for the creative Badr Jobava. Really, I'm happy for him. And now he's in the upper side of the standings in this Tashkent FIDE Grand Prix. Let us see what happens in the remaining rounds. Thanks for watching.